Welcome back to the show. I hope you're enjoying it. Now, majority of us attend weddings, birthdays, and even some parties in pursuit of one thing. The precious cake, of course. Myself included, but there's no shame in that. Now, this goes a long way in showing that cake bakers are really pushing the scale up in terms of production of quality, tasty, and creative cakes. In line with this observation, we bring you Wanjiru Kimani, a cake baker who is slowly making a name for herself in the baking industry and of course is taking over the market courtesy of a unique baking style and of course customer satisfaction. This is our story. Enjoy.
I'm a baker, so I bake for a living. I just cleared campus in 2019. And then I studied community development and social work, and then I furthered my studies to do a development studies degree. So back when I was in campus, I used to bake, but I really wasn't so serious about the baking thing. I used to bake for my classmates. I mostly actually used to bake cupcakes. So I used to bake cupcakes and then go sell them in class. It was just like at 30 shillings. It was just for extra pocket money. It wasn't really for anything big. I started baking through YouTube tutorials, but then also there's to a certain extent that YouTube tutorials will never give you the depth. So you need somebody to hold your hand and actually show you these are the places that you get your ingredients and all your basic baking set and all this stuff. So me and my cousin have always been passionate about baking. So what we did, because we couldn't afford to go into a baking school and we were all funding it by ourselves, we paid somebody who bakes for Sarova Stanley. So we paid somebody to teach us how to bake. So she taught us how to bake for 3-4 days because we had prior baking knowledge. We weren't just starting from scratch. We knew a lot about baking. What we just wanted to do was perfect our art and also know what the selling point in baking is, create a niche for our businesses, because we all wanted to set up businesses after campus.
Your milk has to be lukewarm, so you heat it up a bit, and then once that is done, you add your sugar.
What was important was the aspect of knowing what I'm good at, be it cupcakes or be it big cakes. Specifically, what really put me out there in the marketplace is my friends. So my friend will tell her friend that, oh, my friend is baking, support her business, and also family members. Like my family members are probably my biggest supporters because all their kids' birthdays, they order their cakes from me. So it's actually, one, it challenges me to be good at what I'm doing, but it also creates visibility for me and also social media. So really, that's how my baking journey started. Because technology advances, nowadays there are things to make work easier for us as bakers. So one, people probably nowadays bake with electric ovens as opposed to gas ovens or as opposed to jikos and whatnot. So for a basic baking set, what you need first, you need to have tins, baking tins. So they're round tins, but they're also square tins. And then also there are things like piping nozzles, which are used to make the decorations around the cake. A thing like a piping bag, which is what you use to you put your cream in so that you can make different patterns. And then there are things like parchment paper, which help your cake retain the moisture and the fluffiness. And then there's also one very important thing is a mixer. It can be either handheld mixer or the standing mixer. If you're baking for bigger quantities of cakes and also bigger orders, it's preferred to use the standing mixer as opposed to the handheld, because you'll use so much energy holding the mixer itself. You definitely need a turntable. These are just decoration stuff to be able to rotate your cake, and then you definitely need a cake box and a cake board to be able to deliver your cake. So those are some of the basic tools that you need. The first step is that you have to preheat your oven. You can't just put in your cake like that. And then you have to measure all your ingredients, that they're precise in grams. and then you kind of like put all your ingredients in different tins, so that when you're doing the mixing, it's way much easier. Let me take you through like something like a sponge cake. So for a sponge cake, my recipe uses eggs, flour and sugar. So the first thing I do is to whip my eggs and my sugar. So I'll have definitely measured my sugar, and I'll have my number of eggs, and then I'll mix them together, and then I'll beat them with either my stand mixer or my hand mixer. So what will really tell me that my mixture is okay is if it doubles in size. Then now I'll add my flour. So when I'm adding my flour, I'm supposed to mix with my hands. And that is why cleanliness in baking is very important, because you use your hands most of the times. So you're supposed to mix it with your hands when your fingers are wide open. So the important thing to note in a baking tin is that, first of all, you have to coat your baking tin. You have to coat it with a bit of margarine, and then now we talked of the parchment paper, and then now you line it with the parchment paper all over. So once you've lined your tin you've coated your tin first with margarine, and then you've lined it with parchment paper. Now you pour in your if you want to have a flat cake, there's something that we call a bake even strip. So it just helps the cake to rise evenly. So you wet your bake even strip a bit, and then you kind of like place it all around on the outsides of the baking tin. And then the other secret of having flat tops is to bake at a lower temperature. So like for me, bake at 150 as opposed to 180, but then you'll bake for a longer time. Yeah, and then now you wait for like 50 to 60 minutes without opening your oven door. And then by an hour, your cake will be okay. And then now how you check that your cake is okay is using a bamboo stick, or rather you can also use a toothpick. Just check it. If it comes out clean, your cake is ready. If it's still wet, then your cake has to bake for a bit long. Actually, the first cake I ever baked was a carrot cake. By that time, I wasn't so serious about baking. I was just baking for my classmates. So what I noticed about that cake, one, it came out, I put in too many carrots, so it came out a bit wet. It wasn't so well cooked. But then with time also, as I've said before, baking is about practice. With time, you get recipes that are really good and that really will never disappoint you. But also a thing about baking, one day you'll bake so very good cakes, everything will go on well, and another day everything will go wrong, so you have to start again from scratch. Like for example, baking mishaps that come up is when you've baked and then your cake sinks, or rather your cake falls. We call it cake falling, and that is mostly because you've opened your oven when it's too early. And then another challenge that comes with baking is delivering cakes. So most people, it's cheaper to deliver cakes using a motorbike as opposed to private means, because the company is just, it's just cheaper that way. So when you use a motorbike, these guys don't even understand they just know a cake is to be eaten. They don't know the delicateness of the cake. And you have to bear the cost as the baker. And then also, it's such a disappointment to the client, and the client will never use you again. So that is like the biggest challenge with baking. If you ever hack how to deliver your cakes, man, you're good with baking. The cake that I baked most that I felt, this cake, by the way, I've stretched my limit and I love what has come out. It was a Moana cake. So with Moana cakes, you have to do all the figurines. So you have to make everything look like a sea. And also for most bakers say that fondant work is a bit hard for them, but honestly I enjoy working with fondant. So that cake for me, because it wasn't just baking the cake, there were so many other tiny details that were involved. Everything has to be edible, and then also because it's children, it has to be something that is very appealing to their eyes. And then also for most kids, they want cartoons. And their cakes are cartoon based, so you have to make sure that the cake has all their characters. Also, there's a simpler way of baking such cakes using an edible photo. It's too different, but also it also depends on the budget of the client. I think the cake that's trending so much is the money cake. I don't know whether you've seen a cake. It's a cake, and then there's like a happy birthday topper, and then once you pull that topper, money comes out of that topper. So that's called a money cake. The reason why it's trending is because, one, honestly, who doesn't like money? Not many bakers know kind of like market that aspect of their baking, creative baking, because we can just bake the normal cakes, vanilla, black forest, sponge cakes, red velvet cakes, and all that stuff, which a money cake is still those cakes. But what makes your cakes go the extra mile? What will make somebody want your cake? So it's just a creative way of kind of like taking the notch higher in the baking industry. So other than baking, I hold baking classes. So, and I hold them just in my home, the group of women, mostly 5 to 6 women because of space and also COVID regulations and all that stuff. So really, I don't just want to retain the knowledge that I have, because I've baked for quite some time. I've been baking since 2017. So I have some experience over the years, and also I'm in baking groups that help me to sharpen my skills. So I've been baking for quite some time, and really what I always want is to pass down that information, and also to pass down the knowledge that it helps another woman to start their own business from the comfort of their home. And that people need to know that we don't have to so much rely on the job market. You can create employment for yourself. And then also something else which I'd always want, and also this is something that I've been doing, is to write a recipe book. So actually the recipe book is in the editing phase. So the reason why it's important to have a recipe book that has tried recipes is because you won't start like we did, with probably recipes on YouTube and trying, today this one works, this one doesn't work, and you end up wasting so many ingredients. So when you have tried and tested recipes, for you as a home baker, and probably somebody who wants to start their own baking business from home, it becomes way easier to like maneuver around. So for me, mentorship is very key when it comes to baking, and also having somebody to hold your hand. So I'm hoping that probably in the next 5 years I can be able to come up with a baking school, now to not only have it in my house, but to probably have it in a bigger area where we can train a bigger group of women and to empower them. Yeah.
So the last thing we'll do is add in our flavor, and for our flavor I'm putting in my raw peanuts.
There's a financial advisor who actually says you can't become rich from your salary, and that's just the truth. You have to get something else that you're good at, or something else that you can maximize your potential in, that can give you financial gain. So it's very important to, first of all, hone your skill. It's just so important. It's not just important to have the skill, it's also important that you be good at the skill. Because what will really make you last in the job market is the goodness, or rather how the quality of your skill. Plus also, I feel it's very important to have a vision board, especially not just in your business, but also your own personal vision boards, which you have your vision goals in. What probably in your business, what goals do you have for the next 1 year, 5 years, or whatever? They also help you to push you. And also it's very important to have mentors, people who push you, people who check up on you and see what you're doing, people who advise you, people who really want the best for you. I have social media pages. On Instagram, my page is at shibakes254. Shibakes is SHII, 2 I's, so SHII bakes254. On Facebook, it's still shibakes254. It's just the same. On my Facebook page, it's just Kimani. That's mostly where I post about my baking classes, and also where I'll release my baking recipe book from.
Indeed, when you have the time and resources, teach yourself a skill. She chose baking, and her future looks bright.